Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of The Dans. It's been a really busy week here at the Roundhouse. Things are running pretty much full bore at this point. Committee meetings start around 8 a.m. Late night House floor sessions have been going to midnight or so, so there's almost always something happening up here. We've seen continued partisan and procedural conflict, especially on the House side, deep in the evenings. Republicans are working very hard to make their voice heard, even though their numbers have diminished greatly in that chamber. But one of the most important things we're heading into now is an intensifying of the budget talks. House Republicans released their budget proposal. The Democratic leaders in the House have also settled on their budget proposal. Tell me, where do things stand? What's the outlook on the budget over the next week or so?
Yeah, the budget's been moving through the House, as you mentioned. That's kind of typically where it originates. This year we have seen that kind of partisanship even in the budget. It's unusual for the minority party to come forward with an alternative budget, but Republicans have done just that. It's likely then the budget will go over to the Senate side. The Senate will have plenty of time to add their own amendments, changes to the budget, and then they'll have to come up with kind of a compromise before the session ends. One thing we have been following this week is some language in the budget about University of New Mexico athletics, basically saying that they would get more money, more state money under this plan, but it would be with strings attached, that they would have to reinstate men's soccer and a few other sports that have been eliminated. So that's kind of caused some interesting tension, and we'll be tracking that going forward as well.
Yeah, so it looks like UNM sports is already emerging as a potential point of contention between the House and the Senate. We'll have to see how things work out. Obviously, there are a whole host of issues the legislature is dealing with right now. Guns, new firearms restrictions have been a pretty intense source of debate this session. That has moved outside the Roundhouse a little bit over the last few weeks. There are counties in New Mexico that have been passing resolutions declaring themselves sanctuaries for Second Amendment rights, basically a way to thumb their nose at the firearms legislation that has been moving through both chambers here. The Senate did pass a background checks bill, an expanded background checks bill, and that is now on the House side. The House has previously approved similar legislation, so that bill looks like it's pretty likely to reach the governor's desk, although there are still some procedural steps that have to happen. But tell me a little bit about what else are you looking for? It's not going to slow down over the weekend. They're meeting on the weekends.
They're meeting through the weekends, and I think one interesting thing about the gun stuff is I think it's kind of showing on other issues as well, kind of a growing split between rural New Mexico and urban New Mexico. A lot of the counties that don't support these gun bills are from more rural parts of the state, and the more urban parts are supportive. So we're seeing that play out on some other issues as well. There was even a marijuana bill that was introduced by some Senate Republicans, which was kind of an interesting political development that we've seen. And some of those were kind of more urban Republicans as well. So certainly we're going to be seeing a lot of bills moving now. It's kind of getting down to crunch time. The sausage is being made, so to speak. I mean, all the ingredients are now on the table. So we'll be trying to keep an eye on bills starting to move pretty fast through the process and see which ones are starting to kind of fall by the wayside.
Yeah, I think another thing to watch, as Dan mentioned, is that we are really seeing this rural-urban divide is kind of at the heart of a lot of the disputes moving through the legislature. Following the election results, a lot of Republicans from urban or suburban areas lost their seats, so cities are more Democratic. The Republicans who are remaining are generally from more rural areas, and you see that tension pop up in a variety of bills, from wildlife and hunting and the environment, all kinds of things. In any case, I am staying up late, and Dan Boyd generously brought me some Girl Scout cookies the other day, so that kept me going through these late nights, and I'm looking forward to heading into the last 3 weeks. There's still a lot of exciting stuff that's going to happen, a lot of important things that are going to happen here in the final weeks, and we always appreciate you following us, reading our work, watching our videos. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, and look forward to bringing you the news over this kind of final home stretch of the session.